20th of July 1944. A bomb explodes beneath Adolf Hitler's briefing table. He survives. Within hours, the Gestapo begins rounding up conspirators. Among them is a former Nazi general, once celebrated for his brutal tactics on the Eastern Front. His name is Erich Hoepner. Erich Hoepner was born on the 14th of September 1886 in Frankfurt an der Oder, the son of a military doctor in the Prussian army. From the start, his life was steeped in discipline, duty, and the traditions of the German officer class. He entered the Prussian Cadet Corps at a young age, following a similar path to many in the Kaiser's elite. By the time World War I erupted in 1914, Hoepner was a young lieutenant in the cavalry. He served with distinction on the Western Front, earning the Iron Cross First Class. After the war, like many officers of the defeated German Empire, he stayed on in the drastically reduced Reichswehr. When Hitler came to power in 1933, Hoepner, like many in the officer corps, viewed Hitler's rise with cautious pragmatism, welcoming rearmament, order, and the restoration of national pride, while keeping an ideological distance that many generals maintained in the early years. By 1938, Hoepner had been promoted to General Major, and 2 years later he was placed in command of the 1st Light Division, an early armored unit that would later become the 6th Panzer Division. Among those serving under him was a young and brilliant officer named Claus von Stauffenberg. But 1938 was no ordinary year. After the Blomberg-Fritsch affair forced the Wehrmacht into full subordination to Adolf Hitler, Hoepner found himself at a crossroads. As Hitler's ambitions turned toward Czechoslovakia, Hoepner aligned himself with Hans Oster's underground resistance group. Their plan was bold. If Hitler ordered the invasion, they would strike. Hoepner would lead his division into Berlin, seize control from the SS, and help eliminate the dictator. Everything hinged on Hitler making his move, but instead of war, there was appeasement. The Munich Agreement gave Hitler what he wanted without a shot fired. The conspiracy collapsed overnight. The troops stayed in their barracks. The coup never came. During the invasion of Poland in 1939, Hoepner commanded the 16th Army Corps, demonstrating the effectiveness of rapid, mobile warfare. His units swiftly penetrated Polish defenses, showcasing the potential of armored tactics. His armored thrusts became a model of the Blitzkrieg in action. Transferred to the 6th Army for the Battle of France, Hoepner spearheaded the assaults on Liège, Dunkirk, and later Dijon. But in May 1940, when the SS division Totenkopf was placed under his command, tensions quickly flared. Hoepner distrusted the SS and despised their brutal methods. Reports of prisoner mistreatment began to circulate during the fighting around Dunkirk, prompting Hoepner to issue an order. Any soldier abusing prisoners would face immediate court-martial. Just 3 days later, SS Totenkopf troops massacred nearly 100 British POWs at Le Paradis. Hoepner demanded an investigation and called for the removal of SS commander Theodor Eicke if the accusations proved true, but the SS closed ranks. Eicke claimed the British had used illegal ammunition, and Himmler shielded his men from consequences. The massacre was quietly buried. Hoepner never forgot it. He openly called Eicke a butcher, and his contempt for the Waffen-SS deepened. His success in France earned Hoepner a promotion to the rank of General Oberst. As the tensions with the Soviet Union escalated, the German High Command began planning for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Hoepner's expertise in mobile warfare made him an obvious choice for a key role in this massive undertaking. In early 1941, he was appointed commander of the 4th Panzer Group, one of the most powerful armored formations in the German army. The 4th Panzer Group would spearhead the advance into Soviet territory as part of Army Group North. Hoepner spent the months leading up to the invasion meticulously planning and preparing his forces for the challenges that lay ahead. However, this military operation would soon reveal a dark undercurrent that would forever tarnish Hoepner's legacy. In the days leading up to the invasion, Hoepner issued a directive that aligned his forces with the most heinous crimes of the Nazi regime. His orders emphasized that the objective was the destruction of present-day Russia itself, and that no adherents of the Russian Bolshevik system were to be spared. As the 4th Panzer Group advanced, the true implications of Hoepner's words became clear. Units under his command established a close working relationship with the Einsatzgruppen. Franz Walter Stahlecker, commander of Einsatzgruppe A, noted that the relationship with Hoepner's Panzer Group was extremely close, one might say even warm. The extent of the 4th Panzer Group's complicity in war crimes was further evidenced by its implementation of the Commissar Order. Between July 2nd and July 8th, 1941, Hoepner's forces reported the execution of 101 Red Army political commissars, with the number rising to 172 by July 19th. The legacy of Operation Barbarossa would forever change how history viewed not only Hoepner, but the entire German military leadership of World War II. As the 4th Panzer Group advanced towards Moscow in the autumn of 1941, Erich Hoepner's initial successes began to unravel. The Battle of Moscow proved to be a turning point not only for the German war effort, but also for Hoepner's own convictions. As Soviet counterattacks intensified, Hoepner found himself at odds with Hitler's strategic directives. The Führer's insistence on holding ground at all costs clashed with Hoepner's professional military judgment, which favored a tactical withdrawal to more defensible positions. In January 1942, Hoepner faced a grim reality. His panzer forces were stretched thin, battered by the Russian winter and Soviet counterattacks. He requested permission to withdraw from his superior, Field Marshal Günther von Kluge, the newly appointed commander of Army Group Center. Kluge said he'd take it to Hitler and told Hoepner to prepare. Believing approval was on its way and unwilling to wait any longer, Hoepner gave the order on January 8th to fall back. It was a calculated risk and a fatal misstep. Fearing Hitler's wrath, Kluge turned on him, reporting the withdrawal before the order even reached Berlin. Hitler was furious. That same day, Hoepner was dismissed from the Wehrmacht. In defiance of military law, Hitler stripped him of his pension, his uniform, and the right to wear his medals, an erasure designed to humiliate. But Hoepner didn't stay silent. He sued the Reich, demanding his pension be restored, and in a rare twist of justice under dictatorship, he won. Even Hitler, bound by the judiciary he hadn't yet fully broken, couldn't touch the verdict. As Hoepner grappled with the fallout of his dismissal, he began to reevaluate his understanding of the Nazi regime. The strategic disagreements during the Battle of Moscow had exposed the dangerous incompetence of Hitler's military leadership. Now, removed from active service, Hoepner observed the regime's actions from a new perspective. Reports of atrocities on the Eastern Front took on new significance. The systematic brutality against civilians and prisoners of war, which Hoepner had previously rationalized, became impossible to justify. The regime's disregard for military expertise and willingness to sacrifice soldiers' lives for ideological goals further eroded Hoepner's loyalty. Hoepner's evolving perspective was also influenced by interactions with other disillusioned officers and civilians. As Hitler tightened his grip on power and pursued his genocidal policies, Hoepner found himself at a moral crossroads. Hoepner began to cultivate connections with members of the German resistance movement. Through these interactions, he became increasingly aware of the full extent of Nazi crimes and the urgent need for action to remove Hitler from power. The decision to join the plot against Hitler represented a stark departure from his previous role as a commander who had once issued orders aligning with Nazi ideology. As the plans for the coup d'etat took shape, Hoepner was designated to play a crucial role. He was to assume command of the replacement army in Berlin, a position that would give him control over key military units in the capital. On July 20th, 1944, Hoepner put on his old general's uniform and made his way to the Bendler Block, the headquarters of the Army Reserve in Berlin. The air was thick with tension as the conspirators awaited news from Hitler's Wolf's Lair. As reports of the bomb explosion reached them, Hoepner and his fellow plotters began to implement their plans. However, the situation quickly unraveled. As the night wore on, it became clear that Hitler had survived the assassination attempt. The coup had failed. In the chaotic aftermath, Hoepner was arrested by the Gestapo, subjecting him to intense interrogations. Despite the physical and psychological pressure, Hoepner maintained his composure, refusing to implicate others or express remorse for his actions. As the Nazi regime moved to make examples of the conspirators, Hoepner was brought before the infamous People's Court. Presided over by the fanatical judge Roland Freisler, the trial was little more than a show of Nazi retribution. Hoepner was made to appear in ragged, ill-fitting civilian clothes. His request to wear his false teeth was denied. On August 8, 1944, Hoepner was found guilty of high treason and sentenced to death. The sentence was carried out with brutal efficiency. Like many of his fellow conspirators, Hoepner was hanged with a wire mounted from meat hooks at Plotzensee prison in Berlin. His execution was filmed on Hitler's orders, a grim testament to the regime's desire to make an example of those who had dared to challenge its authority. The punishment extended beyond the grave. Under the Nazi policy of Sippenhaft, guilt by association, Hoepner's family was arrested. His wife, children, brother, and sister were all arrested. The women were deported to Ravensbrück concentration camp. Erich Hoepner's legacy is haunted by contradiction. He was a commander in Hitler's war of aggression, a man who once gave brutal orders on the Eastern Front. But he was also one of the few senior officers who risked everything to stop the regime from within. He died a traitor in the Nazi record, but to others, he died trying to reclaim a piece of his conscience. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. We hope you found this video informative. If you enjoyed learning about today's topic, make sure to check out our video about Roland Freisler, the Nazi judge who sentenced thousands to death. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more World War II content. And we'll see you in the next one.